This is part of a series of demonstration videos to review how openstack-helm works. openstack-helm is an open source project that aims to provide a fully self-contained Helm-based OpenStack deployment on top of Kubernetes. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate weavescope, which is a great visualization tool whether or not you're using the Weave CNI with Kubernetes. In the openstack-helm bare metal lab that we have for validating and testing openstack-helm, we actually use the Calico CNI, but we have found that you can continue to leverage weavescope, which provides great visualization and the capability of looking at the interconnectedness of containers and hosts, whether or not you are actually leveraging the Weave CNI itself. And so the purpose of this video is just to give it's twofold, a brief overview of some of the neat things that you can do inside Weave, but then also some visualization into what actually gets deployed when you have a fully deployed OpenStack-Helm stack as of the 0.1.0 release. So up on the screen right now is essentially a table list of all of the physical hosts in our Kubernetes cluster. We have 5 physical hosts. One of them is the Kubernetes master, DB04. 3 of them are the the OpenStack control plane. That's DB05, 6, and 7. And finally, DB08 is an OpenStack tenant compute host, housing all the VMs that we deploy inside OpenStack that has been stood up by openstack-helm. So one of the first things you can do with Weave that is fairly neat is examination of the interconnectedness of the actual physical hosts and then the containers underneath. So in this visualization here, we can obviously see that DB08 has outbound and potentially inbound connections to some of the other bare metal infrastructure in this environment that's part of the Kubernetes infrastructure. Anything can be drilled into for deeper dives in terms of what's actually going on inside either a bare metal host or inside a container. And so if we switch the view from the actual physical hosts to the containers themselves, it gets rather interesting. There's a lot of infrastructure that gets stood up by openstack-helm. Obviously, all of the OpenStack services themselves, but then also some infrastructure like Galera cluster and RabbitMQ and other things. So if we take a look at something very central like our Galera cluster, we can see that essentially all of the OpenStack services have a connection to that, and of course it provides some interesting debugging capability that is fairly useful. If we actually dig into one of these, this is an image-based view, so if we select any one of these images, of which there may be one or more containers actually running that image, we can drill in even deeper in terms of what containers are actually running this particular image. So for this particular image, there are 3 different containers which leverage this image, and we can even go further and drill into one of these containers in particular. Of course, we can attach to the container, and this is essentially the equivalent of a kube control logs -f on this container. On top of that, we can actually dive into the container to execute commands, and of course we can stop and pause and review the various metrics about this container, such as the CPU usage, the memory, the inbound connections, the outbound connections, and the various processes that may be running inside this container. In summary, weavescope is a great tool to debug and visualize your Kubernetes environment. And it's very straightforward to install. That's the end of this video. Thank you.